material. Okay. Yeah. So is my voice is clear? Are you able to see the screen? Somebody can respond quickly. Okay. Done. So yesterday we have covered once again for the sake of the other people what we covered so far. Just I want to give a glance. So this is what one question come across on this area. Okay, and some students are absent yesterday, and I think some Pranav or Pranavi something at the beginning of the class people are there at 9, and after that even there is no response till 9:40 or 9:35. What are the number of times I just put the queries? Okay. Please ensure that whenever I ask the queries, you need to be responded. After looking all your responses only, I'll confirm that you are available for the entire session. Okay, don't do any kind of manipulations at here, please. Okay. So this is one important question. First question, please remember, define algorithm, explain the characteristics of algorithm. Okay, and followed by example of algorithms. So these two slides will make a vital role on this. But here, okay, this parameters you should write. Okay. And next, coming to the one example will be asked, how the question will be like define algorithm, explain the different characteristics of algorithm. This is what A bit will come preferably. Like next, coming to B bit, some specific question. Write an algorithm to find the maximum of three numbers. Write an algorithm to find the factorial of a number. And this is what the first six programs which I mentioned in the DS lab. What can I say this DAR lab. So those programs, any one of the program can be asked as a question. Okay, and this is what one case. And coming to this one, why we are studying the algorithms, what we will do, this is what we have discussed. And this is what another important essay question. Explain the different steps in solving the problem. Okay, explain the fundamental steps in solving the problem in algorithmic approach. Okay, this is second important essay question for solid. I can say it's a 15 marks question. Okay, all nine steps you should explain. In the last class, we have covered what is understanding the problem, ascertain the capabilities of computational device, choosing between exact and appropriate problem solving. Up to here, we have covered. Okay, understanding the problem, sir, what kind of problem it is. Okay, so do we have any similar problem for that, and which kind of approach I can follow for this particular problem. Okay, so this is what we covered in the last class. Okay, what is this one? Understand the problem, sir. Like first of all, the problem will be solved mathematically and we will try to give some illustrations on the paper. After that, we will try to come across it's what category of the problem, what category means what. So we can apply with the divide and conquer method or which method we can adapt to solve this problem. So those things we can come across and understand the problem. Next, now we want to understand the capabilities of computational device. Okay. So what is the kind of device we are using to execute that particular program? Are we executing the mini computer? Are we executing the mainframe computer? Are we executing the supercomputer? Or are we executing the client and what do you say, the client server architecture? So which kind of system, which kind of device we are using to execute this? So this is already explained in the last class. Choosing between exact and approximate problem solving. That's what yesterday we covered that one. What is the choosing between exact and approximate problem solving? For to say the solution exact, we need to have the two phases I just already mentioned, and you can take the pen and paper and you can record certain things which are not covered in the, which are not expressly mentioned in the slide. Okay, so to say a problem can be the solution is exact. There are two phases are there. Phase number one is that's what evaluation. That's what computation phase. Computation phase means what you will be calculating the results, and the second phase is come across about verification phase. In the verification phase, you will be verify that whether the result is correct or not, and you will ensure that all possible cases and you will confirm it. Therefore, to say a problem, the solution is a correct solution. In order to say it's a correct solution, the two phases you need to incorporate. Phase number one, you need to calculate. Phase number two, you need to verify. Okay, these are the two things you need to follow. And whereas now coming to the this case, to say this one, like this is what I mentioned here, choosing between exact and approximate problem solving. The next principal decision is to choose between between these two. So why one should opt for approximation algorithm? Why we are going for approximation algorithm? So there are important problems that simply cannot be solved exactly, such as extracting square roots. Like I said yesterday, that is root 2 or root 3 or root 5. Certain numbers we cannot calculate exact that value, and solving nonlinear equations. Nonlinear equations may not get the integer solutions, or it will get always what you can say Sometimes you may get fractional solutions, like some ratios you will get, okay, some factors you will get. So for that, it's recurring digits will come across. So and evaluate the different integrals. For that also, you will not get the right exactly one particular value. It will not generate. It will keep on the recurring digits will be there. Now, available algorithms for solving a problem exactly can be unacceptably slow because of the problem intrinsic complexity. Intrinsic complexity means that it's internal complexity. So if the algorithm is too complex and because of the complexity of the problem, sometimes we may not give the right solution. And here it is one example is quoted as traveling salesperson problem. So in short, I will try to explain you what is this problem. Like let us suppose a salesperson, you want to visit certain places. Say for example, his company head office, for example, it's available at Habits. Now he should supposed to cover some locations are available at one side to the Habits. What can I say, for example, north side. Some locations are available in what you can say other side. That's what west side. Some are at east side. Some are at other direction. So if you look at about this point, all these places are in the different direction. Now you need to pick up a particular path. You can let us suppose he should cover about some six places. So six places you can go in any order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 you can cover, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, any permutations of this 1 to 6 you can cover. But while going this particular path, so in every permutation, what is the road length? What is the path length? We will calculate the path length. So whichever the permutation will give minimum path length, that will take a minimum time for him to cover all the places. So please understand the problem carefully. A salesperson should supposed to cover some cities and he should adapt. He should go in any direction because roads are available. That's like it's a multi-graph. I think in discrete mathematics we might have come across what is a multi-graph, right? And it's a complete graph. You can say what is a complete graph? From one vertex, you will have the edges to all other vertices. So from one particular location, you have path to all other places. So any path you can proceed. You can take any kind of permutations. So now what is the objective? Out of all these paths, okay, what is the total number of paths can be done? What is the number of edges? A complete graph with n is equal to 6. What is the number of edges? N into n minus 1 by 2. That's what 6 into 6 minus 1 by 2. That's 6 into, what is that one? 6 into 5 by 2. That's what 3 into 5, 15. You got 15 different edges are available. So using these 15 different edges, he can cover the 6 cities in any order. Okay. Now what is our objective? Which particular order will give shortest route length? Which particular path will give shortest length? And that path must be selected so that using that particular path, this salesperson will cover the cities within a short time, within the short distance. That's the objective. So this is what actually the problem. While solving the problem, because you need to exercise with every vertex. If you are at if you are starting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what is the length? Or 2, 3, 4, 5, what is the length? Like 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, what is the length? For all possible cases, you need to work. So as if number of nodes are increased, for example, n is equal to 100, so automatically the complexity has been increased. So due to this increased complexity, the algorithm may consume more time in order to develop the results. So what we can say? So all possible cases, for example, n is equal to 1,000 cities are there, and it is a internet problem, right? We want to transmit the data from one particular node to other nodes, and all cities I just consider as a node, and all the edges between the cities, all the roads between the cities I consider as the edge. That's what the a wired connection and a wireless connection. So this is a particular network. I want to transmit certain information, certain message from one node to another node. So that you are going to learn in computer networks how this communication is going to take place and how we are spreading. But if n is equal to 1,000 or n is equal to 10,000, n is equal to 1 lakh or n is equal to 1 crore, then automatically calculating all possible ways is not that easy. So in that scenario, we don't go with all exhaustive search. Exhaustive search means what? All possible cases we don't even evaluate. We will figure out certain thumb rules. Based applying some thumb rules, we will try to minimize the length of the solution and try to find out a path, and that may be the best path. So we may not say that this is only one and only one path is the best path available. We may say this may be the one of the best paths. Okay. Then our solution is said to be it's an approximate solution. Okay. This is not an exact solution. Okay. So are you clear about this example and between the difference between exact and approximate? I want exact E, approximate A, E comma A. Solution is okay. Exact is E, hyphen, approximate is A, because I'm just mentioning a specific kind of message so that the people who are available can easily. Okay. E comma A solution. Exact solution and approximate solution. Okay. Only very few people are responded. So if you are not responded, means what? I thought you people are not available and your attendance will not be posted. Right. Now, so how to, this is one particular case. Come back to this one where we are. So this is what choosing between the exact and approximate problem solving. This step number 3 is over. Coming to step number 4, deciding an appropriate data structure. Okay. What is appropriate data structure? So here it is, you might have come across a different kind of data structures while doing the different labs. It may be SEM1 lab, SEM2 lab, or SEM3 lab, whatever it is. Okay. So an algorithm, or what is the kind of, whether we can use tags, I think you might have learned in data structures. Data structures you might have come across about the stacks, queues, linked list. Okay, and so in order to solve our, in order to write our program, or in order to implement our algorithm, what is the right data structure? Can we use stack? Can we use queue? Can we use sets? Can we use graphs? And can we use linked list? Can we use arrays? Or can we use multidimensional arrays? And when can we use character type? What kind of data structure we can use in order to work on? Please remember carefully at the beginning level of your learning the programming language. So you will be learning about the different kind of data structures. You will start using it. But now at this stage, while you are coming at the third year level, I mean, so at a fifth semester, so you need to have very good analysis. So what is the limitation of each data structure also you should supposed to write. If I'm using character, CHR, so what is the limitation of character, what you can say data structure? What is the limitation of what you can say string? And what is the limitation of array? And what is the limitation of multidimensional array? What is the limitation of stack? What is the limitation of queue? What is the limitation of linked list? What is the limitation of sets? What is the limitation of graphs? So these limitations you should learn. Means what? For example, I'll give you a simple example. You please understand. In order to move the, what you can say, the bike, engine is required. Assume that, right, in order to go with very good mileage, one bike engine I'm just fixed for a particular bicycle. Okay, and I made necessary connections, everything connections, and that engine is connected to the particular wheel through chain. Okay, so what is that one? Instead of having the bike setup for a bicycle, only I've just fixed this particular bike engine. Now you tell me, if I apply for about some 40 or 50 speed to rotate, so will it go? And what will be the problems? Can you imagine? Because what are the wheels, what are the frame is designed, the wheels and frames are not designed to go with that much pressure and to take that much load. So automatically what happens? There is a possibility that chain will break. There is a possibility that wheels can bend. There is a possibility that the frame can break. Okay, these are all the things because all the total frame and wheels and other setup are not prepared to take that much load. So when you are increasing the load, automatically you have to see that this particular setup should supposed to withstand the load. Similarly, in your programming language, your algorithm is correct, everything is correct, but you are not choosing a right data structure. Due to this improper allocation or improper identification of the data structure, that will minimize to transfer the data. That will give a particular what we can say pressure on calculating the remaining values. So we have to analyze what are the kind of variables we are declaring, and for that, what kind of input values we can supply for this variable. What will be the range? And see, always you people are will be feel that if I say that starting algorithm, and if I run the particular program, you may give n is equal 10. So maximum 10 numbers you are given and you are starting for 10. But if you imagine, for example, IIT examination is there, where about 13 lakh students are writing the examination. I want to sort this 13 lakhs students marks in a particular descending order to allocate what is the rank for that. 13 lakhs, n is equal to 13 lakhs. Imagine, then if you run 13 lakhs, n is equal to 13 lakhs, and you run the program, how much time it will take? So this subject, the DAS subject, you please remember carefully, n value, what are the input value you will give n should be as maximum as possible. Understand what I'm saying? There are so many illustrations are there in real industry. N is not the small value. N is the largest value you have to take. For largest value of n, so which your algorithm is how much time it is consuming. That is very, very important thing. So that point you please Focus carefully. Okay. So now deciding appropriate data structure. Is that point is clear to you? Deciding appropriate data structure. Okay. Respond fast. Data structure. Deciding appropriate data structure is because this is a very important question. It's a 15 marks question. Everything you have to take a proper information and you need to supply necessary example for that also. Okay. Please respond fast. Step number 4. At least we can make step 4 is okay. Done. Okay. Don't forget. I'll just keep on explaining it. You please share your message. And at the end of the class, I'll go through that. Who are the people who are responded, who are not responded. Then automatically the people who are not responded will lose attendance. Right. Now, coming to algorithm design trick, step number 5. Very important question, important for your mid examination also. So you need to practice it carefully. So what is the second one? Next one, algorithm design techniques. So an algorithm design technique is a general approach, okay, to solving the problems algorithmically that is applicable to a variety of problems for a different area of computing. Okay. So algorithm design techniques means that there are different design methods are there. One is about top down approach, one is about bottom up approach. Okay. What is this top down approach, bottom up approach? Bottom up approach is nothing but in order to solve for example, your algorithm requires about 5 different function values. So algorithm will work out first of all 5 functional values will be calculated first, then you will write the main function. Means that you'll be writing the sub programs first, all different components you will prepare, then you will call all these components, all these sub programs in the main program. And this kind of approach is said to be that's a bottom up approach. And in other way, normally traditional way of how you people are learning in programming, you will start doing a program and means that for example, I want to calculate about 100 values. For 100 values, I'm just writing about 10 functions. So I cannot go for the function first of all. First of all, I'll write the main program, I'll accept this 100 values, I'll try to store these values, then I will go for the necessary conditions, then I will divide the n based on that condition, then I will supply the part of the input to the each and every function, then each function program I will write, then each function will start calculating the results. So this is called top-down approach. Similarly, I can whether I can implement the divide technique, can I implement with the what is a different technique? Just in, we have keep on saying one method is divide and conquer method, second method is greedy method, third method is a what you can say backtracking method, fourth is a branch bound method, and fifth is NP complete NP hard. That's using Cook's theorem. We can apply it. So about some 4 to 5 techniques we have. So which technique is best suitable for the given problem? That we will analyze and we will justify why this particular technique is only useful, why not other technique. After confirmation of the technique, then we'll proceed to write the program in that approach. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So please remember, just I will give an analogy here. I want to construct the house. The way we are constructing only one floor building, or the way we are constructing about 5 floor building, or the way we are constructing about a particular bridge or what can say anything. Okay. So kind of foundation is taken, or the foundation, the kind of what we say, the depth of the foundation, how much we need to dig, and how much depth we need to say to start the foundation, how much thickness we have to go, what is the size of rods we can use, what kind of concrete should be used, what kind of material should be used. That will vary based on the type of construction you are doing. Okay. So depend upon the kind of construction, either it is a building, you will adapt one technique. If it is about 10-floor building, you will adapt another technique. If you want to construct like a flyover bridge, and for that you are preparing foundation, you will go with a different approach. You understand? So for all these 3 things, design techniques are different. Similarly, you will understand the problem, and based on the type of problem, you will select the right design technique, and based on the technique, based on that particular technique, then you will start writing the program for that. Okay. And this is what about algorithm design techniques. Next, methods of specifying algorithm. What is this methods of specifying algorithm? How you are specifying? Specifying is that what a representation. How you will present your algorithm. So what is a way? So one way of presenting algorithm is we come across either we have to draw a flow chart. So do you have an idea about the flow chart? Have you prepared the flow chart and you have enough knowledge about drawing the flow charts? Can you please respond through what you can say chat box? Flow chart. Flow chart okay. Flow chart not okay. If you are good at the flow chart, then straight away I can explain. If you are not good at the flow chart, okay, you please better you can spend some time on the Google. Okay. and take the different varieties of the flowcharts. And there are so many flowcharts are available. And insert for a decision, for a conditional class, how you will draw the flowchart. For a for loop, how you will draw the flowchart. And for a different decision making, how you will draw the flowchart. For different problems, for example, finding the maximum number among three numbers, how you will draw the flowchart. Finding a factorial of a number, how you will calculate the flowchart. And how you calculate the roots of the quadratic equation. And for every problem, how you can, what you can say, prepare the flow chart. You please say there are so many numerous examples are there in the web. Spend some time on the web for about 5 to 10 minutes after the classes, so that you will have enough examples. Okay, so I got an idea that like you have the flow chart. Now the other way of representing our algorithm is what pseudocode, right? So just I will try to make it a simple analogy to understand this example. I want to give a particular, what you can say, address. A person is new to my place, and I want to guide him to come from, what you can say, a particular landmark to my location. Okay, then the way, for example, I'm staying at Nagore. Okay, the one person was supposed to come from LB Nagar. He is coming all the way from district. So he's get down at LB Nagar circle. Okay, then immediately what I will do, step number one, I can say, okay, you just go towards, you please identify there are four roads are there. Come to the road that is towards Uppal. Okay, step number one, what I said, from the Uppal crossroad, identify the route, identify the Uppal route. Okay, you just verify, ask somebody that which is the Uppal route. Okay, after confirming that, you come to the Uppal route. There at their location, you can find the buses. So all the buses will come through Nagore only. All the buses towards Uppal in the direction will come to the Nagore. You catch all of some numbers I will specify. If sense of bus is there, you get into the bus and you take the ticket to that particular location. And you please inform the driver, or what do you inform the conductor. Once your location is reached, you please give the reminder. And at Nagore Crossroad, to have an idea, some landmarks I will specify. At the moment you are reaching Nagore Lakes Road, you find this shop, and this hotel, and certain landmarks, this hospital. Okay, so that you will keep on watching that particular items. The moment it is reached, you will get down from the first step. After that, I'll say identify the Kottapot road. You just go to the Kottapet road. Like, you please understand, I just keep on writing one statement, second statement, third statement, fourth statement. Then based on the statements, you are verifying and you are coming. So this is one way of sharing the address. The other way, I will try to draw a map. Okay, so this is what Elbinagar. These are the four roads. This road is towards this direction. This is towards Nagar. This is towards Sagar Road. This is towards highway. This is towards Uppal Road. You come to the Uppal Road. Then again, what is the first circle you will get? Cross it. Second circle, what you will get? Cross it. Third circle, at here, this is what the landmark you can see. And at this circle, you take left. Okay, then pass it. Left side, you will see this hospital. The next lane, you can see science shop, and turn to this direction. So I just to draw a complete clear-cut diagram. That's a map I will prepare. I will share. So using the map, and while looking, identifying things without inquiring anybody, that particular person is able to reach to my house. So now you please understand how I conveyed this address. One way I just conveyed the address while plotting the map. The other way I just conveyed the address while giving some instructions, like step-by-step instructions. Okay, the both the way leads to how to reach my house. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So the way I'm writing step-by-step is nothing but algorithm. The way I just draw the map is nothing but your flowchart. It's a simple analogy to understand that one. So that step-by-step nothing is nothing but pseudocode. Okay, you please remember. A pseudocode is a, you look at here. A pseudocode is a mixture of natural language and programming language like constructs. It looks like a normal English language only. Some programming language constructs like if loop, for loop, do while, like that. What are the constructs are there? Are factorial, are function, some function presentations, some program presentations, and some conditional presentations will be there. Using it is looks like a normal English language only, but we'll use some. It is related to more closely related to a particular programming language. And it may be C programming language. Okay, and this is what the kind of pseudocode. And a flowchart is a method of expressing an algorithm by a collection of connected geometric shapes containing the descriptions of algorithm steps. As already you know about flowchart, you can understand. Okay, so you need not worry how your pseudocode will be there. Couple of examples we are going to see the couple of examples, and in that example you can look at, you can understand about this is what the pseudocode. Okay, Can you see this particular example? Algorithm to find maximum of n. Okay, maximum n numbers are given to you. In that, you need to find out the maximum of maximum among the given numbers. Is the problem is clear to you? This is how I'll write the pseudocode. The first of all algorithm. This is the result word. We are going to learn about this rules to write this algorithm. But to have an idea about what is the pseudocode, I'm just showing this one. This is algorithm reserved word and one character space followed by this is the name of the algorithm. Okay, you can give any name within the parenthesis, and this is what A represents about array and N represents what is input size I'm just mentioning. This is what a comment which cannot be executed by the system. Okay, so comment double slashes A is an array of size n. So it's just C programming language. It's like a begin, the same symbol we are using, and result is a variable I'm using, and this is an array I'm storing all the values. First of all, I'm assigning first element in the array to the result. Instead, first of all, I'm saying first element of array. First element I'm considering as a maximum element. Okay. Next, from second element to till last element. Okay, I'll do the comparison operation from second element to till last element. So every element I'll compare with this my result element. If that element is greater than the result, then result will be updated with that element. If it is less than that element, the result will not be updated. You understand? For example, in the first location I get 3, second location I get 4. Okay, initially my result will become 3. Okay, next what happens? The moment it is verifying the second element is what? Is 3 is greater than 4? It's false. Therefore, result will become 4. This is what updation. For example, in the first place 4 is there, second place 3 is there. So initially the 4 will be allocated for result. Okay, the second place when I reach, that is a 3 element is there. Now it will check the condition. Is 3 is greater than 4? Is 3 is greater than 4? No. So there is no updation of result. Result will be the same previous 4 only. Then again this loop will keep on compare from second to till last element. If any element is greater than the result element, then result will be updated. Otherwise, whatever the result is selected, the same result will be maintained. You understand? So this is what how you are writing the pseudocode. Are you clear about the format of pseudocode? Okay. This only for the sake of to understand how pseudocode will looks like. Just I made this particular example. Okay. So we'll go back to again what are the fundamental steps of problem solving. So this is what this one. So we have finished about this word proving methods of specifying algorithm. Methods of specifying algorithm means what? Algorithm can be specified either in pseudocode or it can be specified in flowchart. So if it is a small problem and a certain extent we can construct on one particular page, so we can represent through flowchart. But if it is a very big program and having so many constraints, then drawing the flowchart is a very big complex. And even if you draw, it will take more time for a researcher to understand that how new conditions can be incorporated in that. So in that scenario, we'll go with what you can say algorithm. In all the cases, we'll go with pseudocode mechanism. Okay, this is what step number 6 is over. So are you clear about this flow chart and pseudocode example? Can you please give me a quick reply? What is pseudocode? Pseudocode example, pseudocode is clear to you. I'm just waiting for the reply. Because more between, I'll just put the questions because to ensure that are you people are listening, just you just made it system on and doing something else. Don't do that mistake. Okay. Now next coming to the proving algorithm correctness. I'm just moving to the next step, proving algorithm correctness. How we can say that algorithm is correct and what are the steps to be followed. Okay. Analyzing algorithm. Before that we have so proving algorithm correctness. This is what step. So please look at about this example. You have to prove that the algorithm yields a required result for every legitimate input in a finite amount of time. So please understand, you have to prove that the algorithm yields a required result. So whatever the result you are expecting, the algorithm should develop the same result for every legitimate input, means valid input. For every valid input, and whatever the valid input, what is the right output should come, it should generate the same output within the finite amount of time. This condition, please don't forget. Majority of people in the initial stage before learning the regionals of algorithm, people will feel that okay, I'm just applying this particular results and I got this particular output. Okay, so we will not focus much on how much time it is concerned. So now we are at this junction. For example, your algorithm is working fine, it is generating the results, but it is consuming more time. So that is that. Then also we can say Algorithm is not satisfied, algorithm is not correct. Why? Because it is consuming beyond our expectation time. So two conditions must be, you please remember. Condition number one is it should generate the correct output. Second thing is it should generate at right time. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what you have to prove that the algorithm yields a required result. First, you should show that your algorithm is developed the right result. Next, for every legitimate input in a finite time. So what are the times it consumes? That is a allowed time only, allowable time only. It's not beyond our range of the time. Now, a common technique for proving correctness is to use mathematical induction because an algorithm iterations provide a natural sequence of steps needed to for such proofs. This is what the general you might have come across mathematical induction. I think this is in somewhere you covered in 11th standard. That's what intermediate first year mathematical induction. I will take it. Do you have any idea? Any idea? For example, a statement is given to you. What is the statement? For example, the sum of the natural numbers, sum of the first natural numbers, sigma n is equal to, okay, n into n plus 1 by 2. Is it n into n plus 1 by 2? Okay, do you remember that formula? And sum of the first square of numbers, 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square, dash plus n square, which is equal to sigma n square, that is what n into n minus n into 2n plus 1 by 6. And sigma n cube, what is that one? 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube, dash plus n cube. Okay, that is the sum of cubes. First n natural numbers cubes is equal to sigma n cube is equal to n square into n plus 1 whole square by 4. I hope you are come across this kind of properties. You want to prove that particular statements. So how you will prove is using the induction? First you will take n is equal to 1. N is equal to 1, what happens in the left hand side statement you just write. Similarly, when n is equal to 1, what is the value of right hand side you will write. And you will compare both LHS and RHS when n is equal to 1. If it is true, then you will say n is equal to 1 is true. Then you will assume that n is equal to k is also true. Okay. Then you will try to take the next term and you will try to prove that n is equal to k plus 1 is also true. Then you will write by the principle of finite mathematical induction for all positive integer values of n, the given statement is true. Okay. That's what you will write. This is what the concept of mathematical induction. So you can use the same mathematical induction to prove your algorithm. That's one say this thing. Do you have an idea about mathematical induction? Do you remember mathematical induction? Please, can you respond fast? MI, mathematical induction. Mathematical induction, MI is okay, sir. I need SMS like MI is okay. Done. So who are the people are typing MI is okay? They are listening. The people who are saying just yes sir, no sir. So they are given the opportunity for somebody else. Yeah. Done. So now this is what one way is to use in the mathematical induction. We can ensure that algorithm is working fine. Okay, that's what one step. To show an algorithm is incorrect, you need to just one instance of its input for which algorithm fails. Do you remember this one? In the discrete mathematical structures, we have discussed so many methods of proof and methods of disproof. Do you remember methods of proof and methods of disproof? Okay. So methods of disproof. In the methods of disproof, what is the one method? Like if I want to say that the statement is not correct, we'll try to take one counter example. We'll take one counter example, and where that example is not satisfying the given statement. You will take an example, and that example is perfectly defined in the given problem, but for that example, it is not satisfying the given equation. Once it is not satisfying the given equation, means that that's a you are proving the you are disproving the statement by giving a counter example. So what is this already you do you remember or not? Methods of disproof, methods of proof, which we come across in DMS. Can you please respond fast? Methods of proof, methods of disproof. Very few are responding. Instead, very few are listening. Methods of proof, methods of disproof. In the methods of disproof, we have one method. That's what disprove by counter example. What is a disprove by counter example? A statement will be given to you. You will write an example, and that example will not satisfy the given statement. Then we can say the statement is not correct. The statement is not true. Okay. The same example is saying to say algorithm is incorrect, just one instance, that is one input. Okay. One instance is of input for which the algorithm fails. If algorithm is found to be incorrect, if it is incorrect, you need to either redesign it under the same decisions regarding the data structures, the design technique, and so on. For example, if you confirm that algorithm is incorrect, then in order to make it correct, you have to redesign. redesign under the same decisions, or you have to go with a different data structure, or you want to go with a different design technique, or you want to go with a different design methods. Okay, so when I say design methods, this four methods will come across: divide and conquer method, greedy method, dynamic program method, branch bound method, backtrack method. Five methods. Okay, when I go with a different design method, when I say different design techniques, it may be top down approach, it may be bottom up approach that will be come across. Okay, so either what is the data structure we are using, which data structure is best suitable. So for all these things we have to go for a variation, because while choosing one case, if it is not working fine, then automatically you have to adapt for other case, other method, other technique, and again you have to work on. This is what how you are going to work with the when you cut algorithm is incorrect. For an approximation algorithm, we usually would like to be able to show that the error produced by algorithm does not exceed the predefined limit. So for every error value is very small, negligible value will be there. Okay, if it is for example, it will be some 10 power minus 12, we start 0.000 11 zeros after that one, or 000 point after that 20 zeros after that one, after that thing. Okay, so you can that's what the error value. If it is within that given range of error, okay, it can be accepted. If it is beyond that, then that result cannot be accepted. Okay, that's what for approximation algorithm we'll say delta x. The delta x is nothing but error. The error should be prominently, it should be very negligible value. If it is very negligible value, then the approximation algorithm is correct. If it is delta x is very high, then approximation algorithm is false. This is how you are proving the algorithm correctness. So you please confirm that. Do you understand that algorithm proving correctness is okay? Algorithm correctness is okay. Good. Algorithm correctness is okay. This is one important essay question. Once again, you please remember about all the steps. Algorithm correctness. Now I'm just moving to analyzing algorithm, coding algorithm.